Dear Diary, Week 14. I started my week off with tradition. Yep, you guessed it. More Queen of Sauce. I learned how to cook plum pudding this time. She always had helpful recipes. Pierre showed up at my house, telling me my year was almost over, and trying to sell some of his seeds. The good news was he'd be selling new varieties next year. He sure was convincing. I also received a letter that day. It was from Dad. He had sent me some stone, which is always helpful. And I had gotten a letter from the mayor saying that there's a festival of ice tomorrow. That ought to be interesting. So then I set out to do my routine, taking care of the chickens, harvesting the mushrooms and the hardwood. Same as usual. I decided to stop in and see Marnie. I heard she had some heaters I could put in my chicken coop, but I was met with a surprise. Shane was passed out on his bedroom floor with beer bottles all around. I splashed him with my watering can. Marnie was just worried about him. He said hopefully I won't be around long enough to need a plan, and sent Jazz crying. That sounded like he really needed some help. I wish there was more I could do for him. I got my heater and went back to the chicken coop. It was a pretty easy install. Just drop the thing down and keep the chickens warm. Later that day, I decided to head to the mine, but I wanted to stop at the Adventurers Guild first to see what they had for sale. I could definitely use a sword upgrade. I perused their wares for a little while, comparing different weapons. Before finally deciding on a Templar's blade. I sold my old sword. I went off to the mines. I started gathering rocks again for staircases. That spent up the rest of my evening. Before it got too late, I decided to stop at the bar and see my buds. Check on Shane, see how he was doing. I thought it might be a good idea to get to know his family. So I said hello to Marnie and gave her a gift. Had a seat with Pam. Talked to Gus. And Emily, of course. It was time to go see Shane. Sat down and had a beer. He thinks he might be gaining weight. I wouldn't worry too much about that, Shane. Having greeted everyone and spent some time with my friends, I went home. The next day was the Festival of Ice, so I sold what I could. And stocked my fridge with fresh eggs. Then headed out to see what all this was about. The festival was interesting to say the least. I started chatting people up. They had ice sculptures and igloos and snowmen. And there was supposed to be some sort of fishing competition later on. They also had a little shop. I decided to get a winter star tree. I thought it might brighten up my place. Then it was time for the fishing competition. I wasn't very good at fishing, but I was going to try my best. The fish were tough to catch. I think I only got one the whole competition. Maybe two. Willie won the big prize. Good on him. Regardless, it was a nice event. Something to break the monotony. It's always helpful. I slept well that night. I put up my tree the very next day, and then went about my routine. On my trip to the mines that day, I had finally made 5 more staircases. So I traversed the mines quickly. I found a treasure chest with some new shiny boots in it. I put them on right away. In this new level of the mines, I finally found gold. I thought this season might be a good season to upgrade my tools, and it never hurt to get more rocks. So I kept at it. I went to the bar that night to see everyone. What I saw, I wasn't expecting. Gus looked distraught. I asked him what was going on. Pam hadn't paid off her tab in weeks, and the bar was suffering because of it. He was asking for my help, and not a moment later, in comes Pam. Speak of the devil. Gus couldn't bring himself to talk to her, so I stepped in. I told her the saloon isn't doing well financially, hoping she'd get the hint, but trying to spare her feelings. I think she got the message, and she paid off her tab then and there. So all in all, it worked out. I'm glad I was able to help. The next day I had a letter. Sounded like Pierre was selling a bouquet for relationships. I guess that's an interesting way of doing things. Later on that day, I found a map and a secret note. Maybe a treasure map? I wasn't sure, but I studied it carefully. If I was right, it looked like it should be behind the mayor's house. So I decided to go check it out. I found a solid gold statue of Mayor Lewis. Can you believe it? I was definitely displaying this proudly on my farm. While I was over near the mayor's house, I decided to check the bulletin board. It'd been a while since I'd done a job for the townsfolk, and I could always use the cash. There were two different ones. Gus wanted to make his famous omelet, and I think Willie posted the aquatic overpopulation one. One or the other. I'm gonna help Gus out. He's my bud. So I had 11 days to get him 2 dozen eggs. I could do that. The next day, a new chicken had hatched. It was another dark colored one. I had 3 regular chickens. I was going to try to get 3 dark colored ones. And so Luna was born. I had been mulling it over for a while. Bouquet? I don't know if I was ready for that. I don't know if he's ready for that. Does he even want to go that direction? I was very indecisive, but I stopped by Pierre's anyways. I bought it, and then I went to the bar, hoping for good news. Put some of the eggs that I'd gathered in his fridge, in Gus's fridge, like I needed to. And then I waited for Shane to come in. Picked up a couple of recipes while I was there. I didn't know Gus sold recipes. Finally, Shane was here. I nervously approached him, gave him the bouquet, and he said he felt the same way. Whew, that was nerve-wracking. That's great. I guess that means we're boyfriend and girlfriend now. He said he was nervous too, and that made me feel more comfortable. I was excited. I filled out the rest of my week with my routine, taking care of my chickens, foraging, chopping hardwood, and mining into the night. And that was my week. With love.